Hey everyone, welcome to Kempner Sports. My name is Rev Trev, and I'm so glad you're here because today I am talking and tackling the topic of who's got a better chance to make the playoffs, the Detroit Lions or the Green Bay Packers. Now, there's been a lot of hype from Lions fans lately regarding their recent success, and then there's also seems to be some hope arising in Green Bay with, just the potential, the rest of the season, and especially the future with Jordan Love. So, let's dive into this content, and we're gonna get into planning the parade. We're gonna talk about strength of schedule, and we're gonna also talk about realistic chances. I've done a bunch of research. I want to share this with you, but before we get into that, please hit that like and subscribe button. I'm trying to make great content for you regarding the NFL, regarding the Packers, regarding fantasy football, which I'm going to be making a bunch of those videos this week as well. So make sure you hit that subscribe button, and thank you so much for your support. Okay, let's talk about planning the parade. What do I mean by that? There just means that there seems to be some overhype, over dramatic theater that goes on with some of these victories. There's too high of highs and not realistic expectations. Now, let's talk about the Detroit Lions in this case. Some fans, not all fans, okay, but some fans are drinking the Kool-Aid, okay? They are basically, the way they're talking right now is like they've been a successful team all year. They've been a successful team winning the North for a long time. They've had playoff wins. None of those things have happened other than they've kind of just turned it around, okay? And so it feels like they're starting to plan the parade, like they're going to win the Super Bowl. The way they're talking, the swagger that they have because of this recent winning streak has been, or turnaround, is acting like they're not only going to make the playoffs, but they're going to win the Super Bowl. And so now let's give them some credit, right? So they started the season horrifically on defense. It was absolutely atrocious what was going on defensively, and that's the part that I feel like's really turned around. Their offense has been pretty solid all season. So if you think about it, they held the Giants to only 18 points. Now, they had 28 points just scored in the last 4 weeks by the Bills. I mean, that's a pretty good offense, so we'll give them a pass there. But they almost won that game. And in fact, that would have been so incredible. There's been so many games that the Detroit Lions have almost won this year or just barely won. And this is where a lot of the promise comes in. Okay, and then they only gave up 14 points to the Jags, even though the Jags are not a playoff team. And then they held the Vikings to 23 points in a massive victory. And so what we're seeing here is, if they can get that defense to kind of hold, then they have some chances because their offense has been that good. Okay. Also, Jameson Williams is finally playing for them. He's the young phenom star, and he's already scored a touchdown. He's looking decent. He's going to get more reps. That's good. I feel like they haven't utilized DeAndre Swift since he's coming back from his injury. I'm not really sure what's going on there. But Goff, let's just be honest, he's looked good. He hasn't been great, but he's looked good, and he's been very serviceable. So that is why the Lions fans are so excited. You already have St. Brown doing his thing. We've seen Jamal Williams, who's been amazing. Are the Packers kicking themselves on that one? Hindsight 2020, I'm not really sure. But this is a little bit of planning the parade, the hype train going a little too far because of these things. But as Packers fans, let's just be honest for a minute. We've kind of overhyped some of our victories and downplayed some of our losses a little too much. For example, let's talk about the Cowboys. When we beat the Cowboys, it was like we won the Super Bowl. It's just, I don't know what it is with the rivalry. We love beating the Cowboys, and it seems to happen a lot. Sometimes there's controversy in those games. And we basically are Cowboy killers. Let's just be honest, right? We win those games. The losing to the Eagles, no one said we had a chance. We end up losing by 7. The game was a little closer. It was pretty surprising that we were that close Now, let's not talk about our defense because they allowed 40, and Jalen Hurts ran over us like Michael Vick on steroids. So that wasn't really that great, but it gave us some hope, and it felt like we were turning a corner. And it also gave us hope because Jordan Love came in and had 9 incredible passes, six receptions, 113 yards, and 1 touchdown. Why do I know that? Because we overhyped that game. I did a video on Jordan Love. It was really good. You should check it out. Is it time for love? I answered that question there. Okay, so, and then we went and beat the Bears. Now, I know that shouldn't be a big deal, but in Green Bay, that's a big deal because they're the rivals, they're the hated rivals, and we just love owning the Bears, especially Rodgers loves owning the Bears. Okay, so we kind of overhyped that win. It was a lot closer than we were losing for most of that game and turned it around. And so we have a little bipolar or overreaction theater this season as well, and we act like it's like, relax, we're going to make the playoffs, or it's not really that big of a deal. The fact is, it's been a big deal. So these are some of the annoying things that both fan bases have done. But let's talk about strength of schedule. And this is where things get super interesting in regards to who's got the better chances. So Detroit has 6 wins, 7 losses, and they've just won 5 out of the last 6. I mean, they are on a tear. Let's give them credit, okay? They have been very good. Detroit, now going into the last 4 games of the season, are on the road 3 out of the 4 games. That's a significant thing that nobody's really talking about enough. Now, who do they play? They're on the road this week against the Jets. They're on the road next week against the Panthers. And that's an interesting one because the Panthers are fighting for a playoff spot. They're not the normal Panthers just going to roll over. Now, who knows what's going to happen. Then they're at home to the Bears, who they only beat by 1 point last time they faced each other. And then they're on the road against the Packers at Lambeau Field. So then let's switch over to the Packers. Okay, they only have 5 wins and 8 losses. They had a horrific losing streak this season and only have won 2 games out of the last 6. So why do we think that we could make the playoffs? Because there's meaningful games, as Rodgers says. There's a glimmer of hope. We're not mathematically out of it yet. Well, it's going to be massive to win these. But out of the next 4 games, we play 3 at home. Now that's promising. First game out of the bye week, we're playing against the LA Rams, the Baker Mayfield-led Rams, okay? Then we play a really difficult team in the Lions in Miami, and then we play at home versus the Vikings and the Lions. Now, the Vikings destroyed us this year. I'm looking forward to this rematch. It might not be a blowout like we think, and then facing Detroit at home, this is going to be super interesting if everything goes both of these teams' ways. Okay, so I just want to end this video with what are the realistic chances, right? The Packers and Lions playoff potential is not easy at all. Both have what teams and the league would consider uphill climbs. Now let me explain this, because they basically have to win out plus, and that's the problem. Not only do you have to win those 4 games, plus you have to have other people that lose or don't do as well, and that's the challenge. And this is where is it realistic? It's like in Dumb and Dumber when he asks the Mary Swanson about, hey, you know, what's the chance of a guy like me being with a girl like you? And she says, not good. And he's like, well, what do you mean not good? Like, you know, 1 in 100? And she's like, more like 1 in a million. And he's like, so you're saying there's a chance? And he's like, yes! That's one of the greatest lines in a movie ever, because it's so hilarious and so dumb. And she was married to someone else, so there's no chance. Plus, you know, and he was Lloyd, it's just crazy. But, okay, go back to football here. So, here's the thing. There's 3 wild card spots, and with the 10 wins that the Cowboys already have, they basically are shoo-ins for that first wild card playoff spot. And then comes these other teams, the Seahawks, the Commanders, and the Giants. Both have 7 wins, And this week, the Commanders and Giants play each other. Last time, they tied each other, and that's problematic. We can't have them tying each other. We need them to lose all their games. So someone's got to lose, and then we just got to cheer whoever loses that game. We got to cheer that they lose every single game. We need one of those teams to start going on a losing streak. So let's talk about the Commanders real quick. So the Commanders play at the Giants this week. Then they're at the 49ers. Then they're home to Cleveland. And then they're home to Dallas. Now, that Dallas game is interesting because Dallas is probably going to have been clinched by that moment, and so they might not even start their starters, okay? So that's a very interesting situation. And then if we go to the Giants, they're at home to the Commanders, like we just said, but then they're on the road to the Vikings. That's a meaningful game. And then they're home to the Colts, and then they play against the Eagles on the last week. Again, the Eagles will have clinched by this time. They probably won't play their starters, so that's problematic, okay? Now let's talk about the Seahawks just for a moment, because right now they're out of a playoff spot in regards to the division. If they have to beat the 49ers at home this week to have a realistic chance of winning the division, but if they don't win that, then they're in big trouble. And then they go into Arrowhead and play the Kansas City Chiefs. That's going to be brutal. They're not going to win that game. But then they return home to play the Jets and the Rams. And one thing we know about the Seahawks, they always seem to play so good in front of that 12th man crowd. And so they could win against the Jets and they could win against the Rams. So not only that, let's add in one more factor. The NFC South. What a mess. What a gong show. Tampa Bay is 6-6. Carolina and Atlanta have 5 wins. They have the same amount of wins as Green Bay. Like, that's how bad we've played. Our record is, that is. And so they're all fighting for the NFC South. Now, what if one of those teams goes on a roll? So one of them's going to win the division, and another one, if they go on a roll, they're going to be in the same situation as Green Bay. So I'm going to answer this question really quickly now after all this research, okay? So who has the better chance between Detroit and Green Bay at making the playoffs, just using those two teams, okay? Well, the realistic chance is that slim, very, very slim. Like, we're talking awfully slim. But everything in this question points to Detroit are the favorites. Out of these two teams, they're definitely the favorites. But this is why we watch the game. This is why they play the game. There's no givens, and especially in a league like the NFL on any given Sunday, this parity, league full of parity, I'm telling you, anything can happen. And so this is why we tune in. This is why we hope. And it all depends on what happens in these next 3 weeks. Now, what I'm hoping is that the Packers play the Lions, and whoever wins goes in. That would be awesome. That would be so awesome. And it's in Green Bay, and we're getting revenge for losing last time we played them. We always end up splitting games against the Lions. But it might be, it's probably Aaron Rodgers if it's still mathematically possible, unless he gets injured, right? So if not, it's Jordan Love, and we're playing for next year, or we're playing for a better draft pick. But it all starts with this week. Can the Packers beat the Rams at home, and can the Lions beat the Jets? And I believe, did I say, where was that? They're at the Jets. Okay, so that has to happen first for any of these scenarios to happen. But like I said, pumped about the games coming up. Excited for the Lions' future. They have a lot of things going well, and if they can draft well, again, they have a lot of draft capital. They could really be not only playing well, but contending for the NFC North next year if things go in their favor. Now, we're not counting out Green Bay yet. We're not counting out the Vikings. And Bears fans, I don't know what you're planning. I don't know if next year you're planning the playoffs, but it's starting to turn into a decent-looking division. So, sorry, long video to say thanks so much for watching. Hope you learned something. And, of course, just enjoy the games. Whoever you're cheering for, if you're a Lions fan and you watch this, thanks for watching this. Hit that like button. Come on. I'm realistic. I'm honest in my opinion. If you're a Packers fan and you're mad at me right now because I said that the Lions have a more realistic reality of making the playoffs, I mean, it's just fact. But let's see what happens. I'm not saying that's going to happen. But man, I'm pumped for this weekend to see some great football. Thanks again for watching. Have an awesome day. And of course, always go Pack Go.
Y'all ready for this?